As I've been saying, the standout feature of the upcoming budget is that the government has more money than it expected in the interim budget. It has higher tax and non-tax revenues. Firstly, the government has got a 2.1 trillion rupee dividend from the Reserve Bank, whereas the interim budget had only estimated 80,000 crore rupees. So overall, non-tax revenue goes up by 1.3 trillion rupees. Now, Finance Minister Sitharaman may also estimate tax revenues higher by about 40-50,000 crore. Firstly, because the final receipts of the FY24 budget show that the government collected 27,600 crore more than what the interim budget estimated. That's partly why the fiscal deficit has fallen to 5.6% from the interim budget estimate of 5.8%. Secondly, tax revenues in the April-July period on an average 12 to 22% higher than last year, showing that the economy is more buoyant than estimated in the interim budget. So, the interim budget estimate of a 12% rise in direct taxes can easily be up to at least 13% given the tax performance of the first quarter. So, all told, Sitharaman can raise the gross tax revenue from 38.3 to 38.7 trillion rupees. After transfer to states, the net tax revenue can jump from 26 to 26.4 trillion rupees. Adding non-tax revenues, which includes, of course, the big RBI dividend, total net revenues to the centre can rise from 30.8 trillion estimated in the interim budget to 32.5 trillion, which is what we estimate. Now, we expect the government revenues to be at least 1.5 to 1.9 trillion higher. How will it use this money? Economists estimate capex may be increased by 40,000 crore, revenue expenditure by 60,000 crore. But some economists say capex may not be raised at all and revenue expenditure through programs for rural development and agriculture may be upped by about 1 trillion rupees, given of course the election result. The rest may be used to bring down the fiscal deficit from 16.9 trillion that was in the interim budget to maybe 16.4, 16 or even 16 trillion rupees. So fiscal deficit can fall from 5.1% in the interim budget to 5% or even 4.9. However, an economist like Neelkan Mishra of Axis says the government must use most of the extra money only to bring down the deficit because the Reserve Bank dividend is a one-off. If the deficit indeed goes down, the government will borrow less from the market, probably about 50-60,000 crore less. This can push down yields on government bonds and therefore even the cost of capital for companies. Of course, the government may choose to spend more and keep the deficit as is at 16.9 trillion rupees or at 5.1% of the GDP. But a fall in the fiscal deficit can mean a huge leg up for an upgrade of India by the rating agencies, which will mean a paradigm shift in borrowing costs both for India and for Indian corporates, which is why much hinges on this budget and its approach to fiscal deficit.